Hi everybody, and welcome to the Car Count Experts webinar today. Today we're going to show you a new way to use powerful EDDM marketing to absolutely dominate your local market. Now, here's what's going to be covered. We're going to explain exactly what EDDM is and how it works. We're going to tell you how to determine the lifetime value of your customers. We're going to show you how to create an offer that works. And we're going to identify and duplicate your very best customers. In addition to that, we're going to show you a system for effortlessly tracking your EDDM marketing. So let's get started. But before we do, just a little bit about me. Why should you listen to me today on this webinar? Well, for those of you who know me, you've heard this before, but I'm a successful entrepreneur. I grew from one small auto repair shop in downtown Clearwater, Florida, to 21 stores spread out all over the state in less than 5 years. Along the way, I created and executed the marketing during this growth. I also duplicated this success with hundreds of shops around the world. In other words, I took that same marketing that we created and executed in my 21 shops, and I've shared it successfully with hundreds of shops around the world, and they've had success too. And I continue to create, test, and deliver profitable marketing each month to my client shops. So the point is, I understand marketing. I've had to succeed at marketing to be successful. And most importantly, I've also successfully taught it to other shop owners. So that's why you should listen to me today. And now, enough about me. Let's get to you and solving your marketing problems. First off, let's start with an explanation. What is EDDM? Well, EDDM stands for Every Door Direct Mail. It is a program created by the post office, and it's based on carrier routes. Now, this is the most precise method of targeting mail. These are the actual routes that the driver goes along every day when he delivers the mail. What this means is that when you hit a carrier route, you're hitting every single door on that route in a given area. That's what EDDM does. That's why it's called Every Door Direct Mail, because you select individual carrier routes, and then that mailman or mail person, to be politically correct, drops a piece of your mail on every single door on their route. And it's incredibly inexpensive. What do I mean by that? Well, first, you don't have to buy a list. You don't have to pay the expense of getting a list because you're hitting every door. All you're doing is selecting your carrier routes. And then secondly, the postage is about half the going rate for any other postage. So that is what EDDM is. Now, let's talk about the lifetime value of a customer in your shop. We've defined EDDM. Now we're going to talk about the lifetime value, and then we're going to start tying things together. So your average RO should be between $350 and $400 per RO. I'm going to give you some shoulds here. Your best customers should visit at least 3 times per year. Your best customers should send at least 3 referrals per year that are pretty much like them. Okay, so they're going to visit 3 times a year also. Now, your average customer will stay with you for 5 years before they move, die, or buy a new car, or have some event in their life that causes them not to be able to do business with you. So that's just sort of an industry standard, sort of a given. The bottom line is, if you're hitting all these averages, you can afford to spend $75 to $125 to get a new customer. If your RO average is a little bit lower, or your best customers are visiting a little less frequently, well, then obviously you can't afford to spend quite as much. If your average RO is a lot higher, if your best customers are visiting more frequently, then obviously you can afford to spend more. But that's going to be the effective range, somewhere between $75 and $125 to get a new customer to come in and try your shop. So we've talked about what EDDM is and why it's incredibly valuable. We've just talked about the lifetime value of a customer and specifically what that means as far as what you can afford to spend to get a customer. Now let's talk about an offer, because if you're going to do an EDDM piece, you're going to need an offer. Well, that's real simple. You need to make an offer that's so good it scares you. If you're going to go to the effort of doing an EDDM piece, every door direct mail, which means that you're going to be putting yourself in front of people that don't know you, then $5 off, a set of wiper blades, even a free oil change really isn't that exciting. It's just, so what? And if your offer is so what, well, guess how the piece is going to work? So what? You need to put an offer out there that's so good, so strong, that you're going to lay awake at night the day before it hits the mailbox worrying about how you're going to handle all the customers that are going to come in, scared that business is going to grind to a halt simply because there's just not going to be any room to move around in your shop, terrified that your personnel are going to be overwhelmed by lines of customers standing at the front counter. That's the kind of offer you need to make. And play games with yourself in your mind when you think about this, because I always used to tell myself, look, there is some offer that is so good that if I made it and put it out in a marketing piece, I would get that overwhelming response. Now, it may be ridiculous, it may be giving away gold bars or something, but play that out in your head. If you sent out a card that said you were giving out a gold bar and there were no strings attached, all they had to do was bring in the postcard and pick up their gold bar, do you think you'd get a response? Of course you would. Now, amazingly enough, you'd still get a bunch of people that would look at it and go, nah, it's too good to be true. Okay, there's always some way that people are going to talk themselves out of it, but I guarantee you that if your offer is so what, a lot more people are going to talk themselves out of it than if it's outrageously scary good. So that's really the simple rule, is creating an offer that's scary good. The good news is I have a whole catalog of scary good offers that at the end of this webinar I'm going to show you how to get access to. So how do you identify your best customers? Okay, now we've decided that EDDM is a valuable tool. Okay, we've talked about the lifetime value of a customer, so we've determined how much we can afford to spend on an EDDM piece to get a new customer. Okay, and then we've talked about an offer and making an offer that's scary good. Well, now let's talk about how we identify what carrier routes we actually want to send these pieces to, because you could send them to every single carrier route in your area, and it would certainly work, but your return on investment would be a lot better if you could pick out the carrier routes where your very best customers lived and send the piece directly to them, right? Right, of course. So how do you identify your best customer? Well, we've sort of worked that out for you. We have a great system for categorizing and identifying your customer, and we use 3 criteria. The first one is recency. How recently have they been in? If they've been in the last 12 months, they're an active customer. Okay? If they've been in between 18 and 12 months, well, they're inactive. If they haven't been in the last 18 months, they're a lost customer. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to forget about them, but it does mean that we're going to do some different marketing to them, and we're not going to give them near as much attention as we are the more active and even the inactive people. The second category is frequency. How often do they come in? If they come once per year, they're a new customer. If they come 1 to 3 times per year, hey, they're a client. You're starting to build a relationship. There's starting to be some value there. And if they come more than 3 times per year, they're an incredibly valuable person in your business, because they have become an advocate. That means they come in sometimes even when their car doesn't need to be worked on. Heck, sometimes they're there for counseling. Okay, they're the people that just come and bring you cookies sometimes because they were in the neighborhood, and they're incredibly valuable to the growth of your business. Now, the final category we use is dollars spent. If they spend less than $100 on a visit, they're what we'll call a suspect. Why do we call them a suspect? Well, because they might be a great customer, or they might not. They might just be a tightwad oil thief. You don't know. But we can do some things with our marketing and with our data analysis to figure out which subcategory they fall into. If they spend $100 to $400 each visit, then they're a good, solid, regular maintenance customer. They're sort of your bread and butter. and then if they spend more than $400 per visit, well, those people fall into the big spender category, and they are incredibly valuable. Now, we've created a data tool that allows us to visually realize these different categories and these different customers. Let's take a look at a couple of things. Here's a great graph and chart that tells you a little bit about customers in a particular shop. A couple things to notice. Notice the cheap customers are 40% of this shop's customer count, but they're less than 4%. Actually 3.5% of the total income of the shop. Notice the big spenders are only 29% of the customer count, but they represent 61% of the total income. Now, in a perfect world, what do you want to do? Well, you want to take more of those cheap customers, as many of them as you can, and turn them into big spenders. And you also want to discover which one of those cheap customers are the worst kind of cheap customers, the tightwad oil stealers, and you want to get them out of your business as quickly as possible. And those people, those are the ones that they come in for the oil change with the coupon, and you can take them out to the car in the shop and show them that the radiator not only doesn't have a drop of water in it, but the hose is hanging down under the car. And what are they going to say? Just change the oil, right? Okay, those people you want to get out of your business. But at the beginning, you don't know if that person that comes in is going to be a tightwad oil stealer or if they're going to turn into a big spender. So you've got to give them a chance. And we'll talk about that as we talk more about the marketing, about ways to segment those people and sift through those people. But that's what you want to look at. And this chart gives you a great view. Imagine if you're this shop owner and you could spend less time, less customer count working with cheap customers and more time working with big spenders. Just a slight increase in the time spent with big spenders would produce a dramatic increase in your income. That's what we're working towards. Here's another couple maps that show some really interesting things once you start to look at the data in your shop. And again, these are all generated by the data tool that we've created to make sure that your marketing dollars are spent in the best possible way. So in this particular shop, notice that there's a huge cluster right around the shop. The shop is right here in the center of this mass of customers. Each one of these pins, by the way, represents one customer and one RO. With our data tool, you can actually click on the pin and see which customer it is, when they were in last, how much they've spent, how many times they've been in. But for our purposes now, we're just looking at the overall data, and this is interesting because what it shows is that most of his customers come within a defined range around his shop. Usually it's for most shops 2 to 3 miles. Now you will notice that he does have a couple interesting clusters in neighboring towns, probably enough to warrant some attention, but only after you've dominated the area right around the shop. Now, here's another map going in a little bit closer, and it's even more granular. You can see that right around the shop here, there's a huge cluster of customers, and that's the area where you want to focus with the EDDM marketing that we've been talking about in this particular webinar, because EDDM allows you to hit every door in that area, and as you can see from the map, every door is pretty valuable because you're hitting people who've already been into your shop and you're hitting people that are most likely to come into your shop. So you're literally killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So how do you track your EDDM marketing? Well, you do it by comparing the list that you mailed with the invoices you generated, and that'll show you exactly which customers have responded to the piece. Now, it's easy to do if you've got the right tool, and the tool that created those charts and maps that I just showed you also takes care of tracking your EDDM marketing. In most shops, it takes less than 5 seconds to install this tool, and the good news is we'll interpret the data for you and show you exactly where you should be spending your marketing dollars, and then provide pieces that are ready-made, tested in hundreds of other shops that will work for you to accomplish what you're hoping to accomplish, which is to get more of your big spenders to come in and also give you the opportunity to see, meet, greet, and experience all the new customers in your market area. So, what are the advantages of the tracking tool real quick? It gets you more great customers. It eliminates the waste, because in certain maps we will find that there are carrier routes that just don't perform. We can eliminate those carrier routes and save you money. As long as those routes show up on the map, we can identify them, pull them out. You don't waste the money going to those routes. You can also make marketing decisions that are based on a clear understanding of the value and location of each segment of your customer base. We can color code those pins on the map to let you know which of those customers are your big spenders, which of those customers are your suspects, and which ones are your bread and butter regular customers. That's very, very easy to do. One of the important things we designed into the tool. Now, let's do a recap here real quick. So far on this webinar, we've defined EDDM, and we've explained clearly why it should be a very, very valuable part of your marketing toolbox. We've identified how much you can afford to spend on acquiring a new customer, somewhere between $75 and $125 per customer. That's the target when we're acquiring new customers. And then we've shared exactly what makes a great offer, which is very simple. It's got to be good enough to scare you. The good news is you don't have to spend a lot of thought on that. We've created the offers already. And then we've presented a tool that shows you exactly where your best customers come from, and also tracks your response every time you do an EDDM mailer. So what happens next? Well, what you need to do is click on the box that just popped up here somewhere on the screen, and you'll be taken to a page where you can get this tool for free. That's right, you can get the tool that I talked about, the same one that created the maps and charts that you just saw, for free. And it's not just those 3 maps and charts that you looked at. It's tons of maps and charts on your data, your shop, your location. Again, all you have to do is click the box that just popped up here on the screen, and you'll be immediately taken to a page where you can get the tool. You'll download it. It takes less than 5 seconds, and then you'll be able to look at the charts and maps specifically for your shop. In addition to that, we will also do an analysis of your shop and your data and your marketing, and give you some recommendations and suggestions about how to improve your marketing, and also actually show you some pieces that are proven to work, and you can use them in your marketing area. So again, there's no charge for any of that. What you have to do is just click on the box that popped up on the screen to get the tool. Once you get the tool, our analysis, our suggestions, recommendations, all that is just free to you, and you get all kinds of really cool graphical information about your customers. So you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. All you have to do, again, one more time, click the box that just popped up here. You'll be immediately taken to the page where you can get this tool. Once you have the tool, you'll be able to look at your data in a new and powerful way, and have suggestions, recommendations from us. We'll be contacting you with those and helping you use the EDDM process to the fullest to get the biggest response from your money spent on EDDM, because that's what this whole webinar was about, was to put that fantastic tool that the post office has created to work in your shop so you get the biggest benefit as quickly as possible. Again, click on the box that's appeared here on the screen, go to the page. It takes less than 5 seconds to download the tool and get it installed, and open your eyes to a whole brand new way of looking at your shop. As a matter of fact, I liken it to you're driving along in a heavy fog at 60 miles an hour, and all of a sudden the wind blows and it's a bright, sunny, clear day. That's the difference you'll see when you look at your data with this tool and begin to make numbers-based marketing decisions. And that's what we want you to do. So again, click on the box here that's on the screen, and we'll see you on the other side.